Sergeant Molo, thank you for taking charge to spearhead this event and make it happen. We don't do enough of these anymore. When we come together as a family of warriors and we break bread and make some toasts, we tell some stories, and we celebrate those who are not here with us, who gave us and give us the very freedom that we have. To your team of non-commissioned officers, and to the non-commissioned officers who work behind the scenes and those out front, leading the grog bowl ceremony, and you doubling down as the master of ceremony yourself, I thank you and I salute you. To me, the Sergeant Audie Murphy Club signifies that I realize that I am a member of a time-honored corps, which is known as what? The backbone of the Army. The non-commissioned officer corps and the officer corps in particular needs more leaders with backbones. And backbones can't be bought at your local hardware store or at your local base exchange or post exchange or any college or university. Backbones are forged in the fire of Middle Earth, where the heat is the hottest, tried and tempered on the anvil of hard knocks with some mighty tough beatdowns at 0 dark 30 in the morning. And every now and then, you have to dip that fiery backbone into the water, just so that the water can feel the heat of what it means to be a backbone and what it feels like to be a backbone. Everybody thinks that they want to be a non-commissioned officer until they find out what it is that a non-commissioned officer must be, know, and do. Hashtag FM 22-100. And what time in the morning that she has to be there to get it started. And how long at night that he has to stay in order to get it done. If you pay non-commissioned officers for the intangibles that the ordinary officer or soldier can't see with their naked eyes, Congress would have to pass a new budget. Every last one of you non-commissioned officers sitting under the roof of my voice, to include myself, have at one time or another throughout your career of leadership has either said out loud or said with your inside voice of an officer's actions, "That was dumb." Or, "I would have done that differently." But you temper your tone and you keep it inside. Seeing the train wreck long before it comes. Why do you keep it inside, you may ask? Because no one is more professional than I. I am a non-commissioned officer, a leader of soldiers. And after the train collides, you're right there at 0 dark 30 to pick up Humpty Dumpty and put him, her, or them back together again. And you don't say, "I told you so." You just move forward and onward, leading your soldiers to get every job done. Why, you may ask me again? Because all soldiers are what? Are entitled to outstanding leadership. And non-commissioned officers provide that leadership. Non-commissioned officers make the difference. If it wasn't for God Almighty Himself directing nature to do what it is supposed to do and when it is supposed to do it, there would be a non-commissioned officer bringing up the sun in the morning and setting it down in the evenings. Through winter, spring, summer, fall, rain, shine, cold, or freezing. Whether it's from the recruiting battalions, basic training, AIT, MTO units, TDA units, joint assignments, overseas assignments, all the way to Arlington National Cemetery. It is the non-commissioned officers who never forget that we are professionals, non-commissioned officers, leaders. But with that mantle of leadership comes heavy responsibilities. Competence is supposed to be the watchword. What is supposed to be at the top and the forefront of the mind of non-commissioned officers is the accomplishment of the mission and the welfare of the soldiers. Now for me, I've always had a problem with that, because there is no way on planet Earth, some officer must have came up with that, by the way, there is no way that you can get a job done if you are not taking care of your soldiers. So, thankfully, someone with some wisdom came up with today. Now we're saying what? People first. People first. To these leaders, to you non-commissioned officers, what I would say with this responsibility is to get off of social media. Get off of social media. In today's time, I've never seen so many leaders who have a virtual need to be adored, liked, and followed on the internet rather than on the physical job in the real world as a leader. I call this the Pinocchio syndrome. Fake little boys tied by strings to a make-believe world. Soldiers don't follow paper tigers into the fire of Middle Earth. Get off of social media and get back into the kitchen and cook some food to feed your troop. Feed them with the knowledge that will put you out of a job, meaning that make them better than who you are. Feed them with the training that makes them better. Feed them with the fundamentals. Feed them with Army values. Feed them with trust that is exemplified by your very behavior. Feed them with the time-honored history of what it means to be in this profession of arms. Get back out into the wood line. Chop some wood and make a fire to keep your soldiers warm. Keep them warm with a love that lets them know and believe that you genuinely care about them and their families. Keep them warm with a discipline that leads by an example from the front. Keep politics and the world out of your space and provide an inclusive environment for all of your soldiers to feel welcome, respected, and have equal opportunities to be all that they can be. Why, you keep asking me? Because all soldiers are entitled to outstanding leadership. And you as non-commissioned officers are supposed to and tasked to provide that leadership. Talk is cheap. Stop talking about the fragilities and the weaknesses of this new woke generation. It makes me sick to my stomach every time I hear a leader complain about today's soldiers and how soft they are. Every generation that manifests itself always talks about how hard that they had it and how the new and upcoming generation is not strong enough or tough enough to get the job done. Well, when I came into the Army in 1986, it sounds like a long time ago, but yes, 1986 is when I came into the Army. I couldn't run 2 miles. And folks from the Vietnam era were saying the same thing about me. and my toughness, or what I could and couldn't handle and couldn't do. Now, I grew up in South Central Los Angeles, and the only running that I ever did came in quick bursts of speed as I was trying to dodge bullets and while I was jumping fences and roofs trying to survive, evade, and escape. Okay? So someone had to teach me how to live this new Army life. And that was an NCO. And that is what non-commissioned officers are supposed to do. I can't recall not one of my drill sergeants maxing their Army physical fitness test back in the 1980s. I can recall only a few of my non-commissioned officers in my enlisted time who actually consistently maxed their APFT. I finished basic training with a PT score of 283 points. While that might not sound like it's a lot, let me just throw some numbers at you. Back in 1986, the numbers were 82, 92, 11, 54. What that meant was that you had to do 82 push-ups, 92 sit-ups, and run your 2 miles in 11 minutes and 54 seconds. Now, the score that I got back in basic training back then is a max score today on the APFT. Now, when I was taught and shown how to excel by a non-commissioned officers in these areas, I excelled. Soon as a private, I was running 5-minute mile splits and running my PT test, 2-mile test in 10 minutes. I was consistently doing 120 push-ups, 120 sit-ups on that APFT test, both as an enlisted non-commissioned officer and as an officer. My question to today's, not to you, but to today's non-commissioned officers and leaders, how many of you, how many of us are maxing our ACFT right now today? Last time I checked, the Army had to change the standards of the ACFT because so many active duty leaders, non-commissioned officers, and officers could not do one knee lift. One. We're talking about one. Are we talking about one? We're talking about one. For those of you who don't know, that's still Allen Iverson. Practice? We're talking about practice. So because today's leaders couldn't do that one, correct me if I'm wrong, they removed that event from the test. So please stop talking about this new generation of people who can't handle it. There's so many of us who are wearing this uniform who can't handle it, and modifications have to be made. If you want to do something, go out and do 20 knee lifts and call me in the morning and come show me. I was a delinquent in South Central Los Angeles who dropped out of high school in the 9th grade. The 9th grade was the last grade of school that I completed. When times got dangerous and desperate, I went to my local recruiter. Recruiters get a bad rap. And there are a lot of recruiters here today. Recruiters get a bad rap about what they do. Let me just stop here for 1 second. It is a recruiter that saved my life. And I'm here today because of the efforts of a non-commissioned officer, a Sergeant First Class who was a station commander, who took the time. And he saved my life. And here I am today. I went to my local recruiter and asked if I could join the Army in order to get away from my bad circumstances in South Central Los Angeles. And he told me flat out, the Army doesn't take high school dropouts. And for me as an 18-year-old, that just, you talking about a kick in the gut. And as I started to walk out that door, that recruiter said, hey, wait. I can help you. I can help you. And not only I can help you, he did help me. And he took me to get my GED, and I got my GED. He enrolled me into night school and helped me graduate high school to get a high school diploma. And once I earned my diploma, Sergeant First Class Johnson shipped me off the basic training to be all that I can be. And 37 and a half years later, here I stand before you. From as a former non-commissioned officer of 13 years, forged in Middle Earth under the fire of where backbones are made, to commissioning through Officer Candidate School to becoming a full-bird infantry colonel in the United States Army with a bachelor's degree, 3 master's degree, and inducted into the Sergeant Audie Murphy's Club as a non-commissioned officer. I didn't get here by myself. I didn't get here because of who I am. I got here, 1, because of the mercy of God. 1. Number 2, love and support from my family, who wished and hoped for me to become a better person. And 3rd and finally, from a non-commissioned officer who actually gave a damn about their job, helping me to become all that I can be and making me into a better person. I was shown the courage to step out of my comfort zone as a non-commissioned officer and reach for those bars and stars to the level where I could sign my name on a policy letter, make command decisions, and have the final word on what my organization would be, know, and do. As much as the world needs great non-commissioned officers, the officer corps needs them more than anyone. Those of you who have walked this walk as a non-commissioned officer have more than enough to become some great officers. I solicit you, and I solicit you to identify those among your own ranks to put in packets, and don't be afraid of what you don't know. Because as a non-commissioned officer, what you already know is more than what most know in this profession of arms. So stop talking about this generation and get off the internet, get off of your butt, and get up and do your job as a non-commissioned officer and find those diamonds in the rough and put them on track to be all that they can be. And never, as the creed says, never, I will never forget, nor allow my comrades to forget that we are professionals, non-commissioned officers, leaders. That's what we are. Thank you, Sergeant Audie Murphy Club members. Thank you for being here. Thank you for those of you who have traveled from the various states and parts of the country. You all look beautiful. Ladies, you look lovely. And I am just honored to be here and humbled to be in your presence. I miss the Corps. I miss being in your presence because there's nothing on earth like it. Thank you much.